Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And if you are a YouTube user, make sure you click the bell to enable notifications so they let you know every time a new episode goes up of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure to follow us on our Discord community and stop by www.tsj101sports.com. We are the official wrestling podcast of TSJ Sports. You can check them out for all your baseball, basketball, football, all your sporting news. Big sports, small sports, college sports, they've got it all. www.tsj101sports.com. Guys, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately and go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like our buddy Mike in Lansdale, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. Don't forget our loyalty rewards. $15 a month contributors host a live episode with me. $7.50 a month contributors enter into a drawing to also host a live episode with me. Hello everybody and welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'll take your questions, your comments, anything you want to talk about in whatever chat feature you're using to listen to the show. If you want to give us a comment for a future show, you could tune in to the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, a talk-to-text service where you could tell us what you want us to get to, and we will put you into one of our future shows, get to your questions and comments. Don't forget to check out our homepage, frowrestling.com. That is the official homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. You can preview topics coming to the show, check out the links, check out some of our best interviews. We'd love to have you be a part of all the things that we do with the Pro Wrestling Podcast. So tonight, it is all about Money in the Bank. Of course, there's some other silly side things, like, be perfectly honest with you, we'll get to the stupid stuff first, then we'll do the predictions. First off, better check out WWE's episode of DuckTales coming out very soon. Gotta get that in there because somebody told me that there's nobody who would want to hear about WWE having a DuckTales episode. I want to hear about it. Please check that out. Coming to Disney very, very soon. We got to get to the sad news of the day. Rest in peace, Little Richard. Little Richard making appearances for WWE back in the 80s. He's been a huge wrestling fan. Inspired a ton of people in the music industry, but also inspired Johnny B. Bad, Mark Merrow's character in WCW. Had an impact on the wrestling world. Sad to see him go. Late 80s, lived a long and fruitful life, but our condolences go out to his family. And one other serious thing before I get to the Money in the Bank predictions, because that's really what this episode is about. But Ted Dibiase, the whole Dibiase family right now, what in heaven's name is going on? You know, they are in the middle of one of the biggest scam cases in the history of Mississippi, and they're not the only ones. Brett Favre is being implicated in this, but just all of this embezzling of money, millions of dollars from the welfare system in Mississippi, and it's scary. Because at this point, Ted Dibiase Sr., the one you all know as the $1 Million Man, has literally put his home up for sale and everything else. It is not looking good. Brett Dibiase has already been indicted and arrested. You know, you got to wonder what's going to happen with the whole Dibiase family. For a group that had such a great message with their ministry and everything else, it's kind of a sad thing to see them go down this path. But hopefully, it's not as bad as it sounds. If it is what it is, man. They get what they deserve if they were embezzling money. So, wrapped up all the silly side stuff as fast as I could so we can get the Money in the Bank, which I find it interesting. If you noticed when you clicked on this episode, one of the people featured in the pictures was Charlotte. I don't know why she's in the promotional posters for Money in the Bank. She doesn't have a role on the show, but we're going to go through all the matches. WWE announced tonight there's going to be a kickoff match with Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. I think with Sami Zayn being away from television, this is a way for Cesaro and Sheamus, based on what happened on SmackDown, to come back together as Jeff Hardy faces Cesaro in the kickoff show. Jeff Hardy's first official match back since being injured. Obviously, Jeff Hardy's going to win the match. I don't think there's anybody who would think anything different. I do think that Sheamus will get involved. It'll be interesting to see if they bring back the bar or if they leave things as they are with Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm curious to see that myself. So my prediction for that one is Jeff Hardy going away. They also added R-Truth versus MVP, which I find to be so stupid and at the same time offers that comedic element that we kind of need sometimes when WWE's just got this weird stuff going on with no fans and everything else. I think they'll use that as being a cinematic presentation. It should be fun. It should be different. Should be interesting. And obviously R-Truth is going to come away with the win. But it'll still be fun to watch. At least that's what I'm hoping. The WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship. It is a fatal 4-way. The New Day are the champions, defending against Miz and Morrison, the Forgotten Sons, and Lucha House Party. And I'm torn on this. The New Day just got the championships back. You know, we have the Usos are going to be out for a while because of the injury to to Jimmy Uso. So now it's a question of, well, what do we do now? Do we move the championships to the Forgotten Sons, who seem to have made a great impression the minute they walked into SmackDown? Do we give it back to Miz and Morrison, which I don't know that does anything for either one of their characters? Do we have the New Day retain? Do you think the only people who I don't think have any chance to win are Lucha House Party, but WWE right now is hurting for ratings. They might give it to them just to be funny so the kids have somebody to cheer for. So I'm going to have to pick one of these tag teams here, and quite honestly, I'd love for it to be the Forgotten Sons, because I really like what they do, but I think the New Day are going to retain. Kofi Kingston will grab the belts, pull them down, and I think the New Day retain their tag team championship. That is our official prediction. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Nia Jax versus Asuka versus Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke versus Lacey Evans versus Carmella. Now, the first thing you can do when you look at this match is you can eliminate Dana Brooke immediately. We already know she's not going to get a push. You could probably eliminate Carmella as well. Been there, done that. They don't really have anything special lined up for her. That leaves you with 4. Nia Jax, who just recently returned. Asuka, who's been pretty much all over the women's division for quite a while, so I don't think it's going to be Asuka. So I guess we can get rid of her too. Shayna Baszler and Lacey Evans. What I'm actually hoping is that we get one of those things where you have Baszler and Lacey Evans at the top of the ladder, and one of the two of them is going to win. I am pulling for Lacey Evans to win. That's just my opinion. As a matter of fact, why don't we go there? Lacey Evans is going to be our pick to win the Money in the Bank women's ladder match, because you don't need that for Shayna Baszler to get into the championship picture. And she was just in the championship, scene recently, as recent as WrestleMania. So there's no reason to give it to Baszler. I think Lacey Evans, this is the way you give it to her so she can challenge Bayley, and she'll be the one to take the championship from Bayley at some point this summer. Moving on, men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, King Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. Again, this is one of those things where there's only a couple guys that you already know definitely can't win. That would be Rey Mysterio and Otis. They're just not going to win. Now, I highly doubt that Daniel Bryan wins, because he's kind of had a lot of the main event for a while too. But then again, so is AJ Styles. So do you give the win to Aleister Black, who's a newer up-and-coming wrestler, to give him the opportunity to be pushed into that main event picture? Or do you give it to AJ Styles as a way for him to reclaim a main event spot now on Raw, since he hasn't really had a main event spot since arriving on Raw? It's a really tough spot to decide. If I was WWE booking this, I would give it to Aleister Black. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to give it to AJ Styles because he sells tickets. So our official prediction is AJ Styles wins the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men. I just wish it was Aleister Black. I also guarantee it's probably not going to be Baron Corbin. I know they gave him that easy win in that pseudo ladder match on SmackDown, but I don't see them giving that to him ever again. SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley versus Tamina. Everybody in the world seems to think Bayley's walking out as champion. The odds makers have Bayley walking out as champion. That's why every once in a while I got to do something stupid. My prediction is, after all these years of being in the organization, never getting an opportunity to rise to the top, Tamina dethrones Bayley for the women's championship on SmackDown. And why not? You give it to Tamina, it gives somebody for Lacey Evans, assuming my other prediction is correct, to take the championship from, that is much more believable for Lacey Evans to defeat, at least in their current roles in the brand, and it opens up Bayley to a feud down the road with Sasha Banks at some point. We know that has to happen. So my prediction is the weird one. I'm going with Tamina. We got Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt, Universal Championship. I get it. A lot of people want the belt back on Bray Wyatt. And yes, I said belt because I believe in calling them belts. But at the same time, Braun Strowman, I buy it. I like it. I'm okay with him having it. I just don't want to see The Fiend lose again. And then the only way out of that is for there to be a schmoz ending. And I don't really want that either. I hate it when a championship match has some kind of messed up interference, some kind of crazy thing happen at the end of the match. I think in this situation, WWE may lean the way of correcting their previous error by taking the championship off of Bray Wyatt to begin with and giving it back to him. But then what does that say about Braun Strowman? He wins the Intercontinental Championship in January, he loses it, well before Mania. You give him the Universal title, he loses it right away to Bray Wyatt. It's going to start to look like that's the pattern of behavior for him, almost as bad as Goldberg. And I don't want to see that either. So here we go. My prediction, Braun Strowman retains the Universal Championship over Bray Wyatt in a schmoz ending because WWE does not know how to book these incredible opportunities. And finally, the WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre the champion, Seth Rollins the challenger. And I'm just going to be honest with you, with all the build of Drew McIntyre and him so convincingly defeating Brock Lesnar and everything else that's gone into the evolution of his character, there is 0% chance you can convince me that anybody but Drew McIntyre is walking out as WWE Champion. And the beautiful thing about this is it sets up AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre should AJ win the men's Money in the Bank, which I think is a great feud to take you all the way up till SummerSlam when you can have somebody else challenge McIntyre at that point. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's the way I see it. I see Drew McIntyre easily winning. Braun Strowman, shaky pick, but I think he's going to pull it off. Tamina, my weird pick. Got to go there. AJ Styles, Lacey Evans, The New Day, R-Truth, and Jeff Hardy. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college or university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us tonight. If you have any questions, comments, make sure you hit up that Fro Wrestling Sound Off line, and make sure you check out www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of pro wrestling. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great time and enjoy Money in the Bank.